Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with important recordings, or great recordings, actually, that you've never heard of. Now, this is part of a series that we've talked about, and actually some bits of which I have emphasized previously, as with most of these recordings, but we need to give them separate consideration. And here's one that I've talked about before, but I really want to force on all of you again. It's Joachim Raff, that's Joseph Joachim Raff, and it's his piano concerto. Let's see which is this. It's in like a weird key. No, it's in C minor, and his Ode au Printemps, his Ode an den Frühling, his Ode to Spring for piano and orchestra. Raff gets a lot of guff in the classical music business. Raff gets guff because he wrote tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of music in a not terribly personal, sort of post-Mendelssohnian, quasi-Lisztian at times, German romantic fashion, if that means anything at all, which it very well may not. What I mean is his music isn't always that characterful because, well, it's not because he didn't have a personality. He did, but because there's so much of it, number one. And number two, because he was writing for, the standard German provincial orchestra of the day. I mean, if you wanted your music to be played, you did not write things like, Wagner's Ring. I mean, he had to have his own theater to play it, from scratch, to play his music, or Liszt's more modernist stuff, because you needed a bigger orchestra and other instruments and things. Liszt had the Weimar Orchestra at his command and could do anything he wanted with it. But if you wanted your music to be performed outside of wherever you wrote it, Brahms had Vienna. You needed to write for what forces you would normally find. And those were rather conservative. They were either the concert versions of theater orchestras or whatever happened to be the municipal orchestra. So you had, an orchestra basically of double winds and regular strings and a couple trumpets and maybe four horns and some number of trombones if you were lucky, and timpani. And that was basically it. Occasionally you could add some percussion if you wanted to be daring. But Raff was a wonderful orchestrator. He really was. And he helped Liszt with his orchestrations. And a lot of his music is very colorful and very beautiful and incredibly tuneful. And the best of it is simply marvelous. Now, most of the time he gets attention because of his symphonies. And there's something like 11 of them or something like that. There's a pile of them. And some of them are really nice. You might argue that symphonic form was not his strongest suit. Most of them are programmatic in one way or another, and they tend to be kind of repetitious and very enjoyable. I mean, it's okay. You can repeat things. It's not like it's a crime. But this is one of his absolute best orchestral works. And there's a whole series, all of the symphonies and concertos and other works too, on the Tudor label, coming from Switzerland. And Raff was Swiss, actually. And really, really good performances too, for the most part. The piano soloist here is Peter Aronsky, and it's with the Basel Radio Symphony Orchestra under Matthias Bamert, who's a very fine conductor. You may recall a lot of the fine discs he did for Chandos, including things like Stokowski transcriptions and then music of the unusual classical period, lesser-known composers. I mean, he's a good, solid conductor, and he plays the music very well. And these pieces are wonderful. I mean, wonderful, especially the Ode to Spring, which is one of those indefinable pieces that never gets played because no one knows what to make of it. It's a single movement, 18 minutes long, the same length as Ravel's left-hand concerto, almost exactly, for piano and orchestra. And it just is what it is. It's sort of a tone poem, sort of a concerto. It's fresh like spring and full of great tunes and beautiful to listen to. It will strike you as like one of those "where has this piece been all my life" kind of discoveries. It really will, because it's just I can't even begin to tell you. You have to listen. We have to keep on listening. Yes, you must listen to it. And the piano concerto in C minor too is really a good work. I mean, it doesn't have any dead spots. The first movement is not too long, and it builds itself up quite effectively. The finale is exciting and fresh. It's this is good, solid romantic music. Just really good romantic music, and it deserves to be performed regularly. And of course, it never will be, because who's going to know when to perform it? And I love it. I just love it, and you will too. I guarantee it. Give it a shot, and you'll be very happy. Again, it's on the Tudor label with Peter Aronsky and the Basel Radio Symphony Orchestra under Matthias Bamert in the Concerto, and under Jost Meier in the Ode au Printemps, the Ode to Spring. One of the just loveliest 19th century works for piano and orchestra. I kid you not. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.